Hello again, friends, and you are my friends, and welcome to your Sunday's Talking Town. I am your host, the Gov, here to discuss terrible Deepdale defeat for Town, where, of course, yesterday it finished Preston 1, Ipswich Town 0. We've got lots to go through, but we can't do the show without you wonderful people at home, so please, we want to hear from you this afternoon. Get active, let us know your thoughts, let us know your feelings, let us know your opinions. Ins, the outs, the ups, the downs, the what went right, the what went wrong. I'm guessing there's a lot more what went wrongs than what went right. And if you're watching on catch up, you can still get active and let us know your thoughts. I can see a few comments coming in already, which is great to see. And don't forget, we are partners with Match Bingo and Stowmarket Osteopaths, but a little bit more on both of those as we go through the course of the show. I am joined by two wonderful people. Lee, who was there in the stands yesterday, can give us that first-hand perspective of what he saw, what he heard, how he feels, and of course, Mr. Ben Adams himself. Never short of an analogy. Looking forward to hearing what Ben's going to break down for us. Good afternoon, chaps. I'll start with you, Ben, and we'll have a little bit of a therapy session. Even though I'm not a therapist, give me 2 minutes of your time and just tell me what you're thinking, what you're feeling, how are you today after yesterday's 1-0 defeat?
Well, I need to find a therapist, that's for damn sure, or a really good mirror, because that was appalling yesterday. It was really disappointing. And I think everyone can now see the gap between the expectation and I think what currently we're capable of. So my opinion today is based on where we are now, not where I think we're going to be come February time, because Leeds didn't get anywhere in the first 5 or 6 games in their campaign coming down, and then the rocket took off. But it was obviously very disjointed group of strangers playing with one another. I noticed their manager said an Ipswich are a team that can bring 40 million off the bench, but 40 million worth of talent is not worth 2 million's worth of talent if that 2 million are synergetic and can play together. I think this is a fairly natural thing that's happening. It happens to a lot of teams that come down. I'm not saying we're going to do a Luton, but it does take a bit of time to essentially build an entire new team. The band of brothers, the partnerships, the memories, the glory, that's finished. That team has now gone. And they're banging goals in for other teams at the moment. So we have to adapt to the new reality. This is a team of strangers, but that's not a criticism. They're a team of strangers. The only criticism I have is not of McKenna, it's actually the upper management. I'm not sure if anyone's filed a missing persons report on Ashton or the owners. It's interesting that when we're winning everything, every week we get a video saying, "Oh, guys, Ipswich Town, we're watching it from our penthouse in LA. This is great." As soon as we start losing, we hear nothing, and that sends a bit of a message, and it's a bit worrying to me, to be honest with you. One of the, I think, biggest PR blunders that we've made probably in the last 6 or 7 years was when Ashton came out about 4 or 5 months before the season ended, and he's saying, we know what's going to happen with our players, so we're in a great position to acquire everything we need to in the summer. We're not going hard and fast and embed the team ready to hit the ground running. We are 3 games in, and we have a barely fit team of strangers who just don't know each other. And boy, oh boy, is it evident. And we're having players coming on that shouldn't be on the pitch. We've got a striker who can't start more than 10 minutes, unfit, out position. It's not even the player's fault. I just think half of it is the expectation. Some of it is where we actually are. And some of it was that expectation was actually given to us by the management. So you have to be so careful about the messaging right now, because Town fans, this is, I've done a tweet yesterday, this is a bit of muscle memory kicking in.
Yeah,
for those non-fair weather fans, and there's 12,000 fans who weren't with us 4 years ago. All they've known is Wild success. That's all they've known.
Take a breath.
And now we're back down where we are. So,
all right. Take a breath. You've given us a lot there.
I could give you 5 minutes more.
I can imagine, yeah. But we've got a show to build around, and you can take a breath there, because obviously we are joined by Lee as well. You've got a lot there, Ben. I've written some down so I don't forget it, because I'll come back on it, particularly about the upper management. And that was a point made there, and Simon obviously agrees it in the chat. Lee, give us a bit of your perspective. You heard Ben there. If you want to go back on against Ben, please do so. But give us your perspective, Lee.
Well, firstly, on the game, I guess I agree with Ben. Everyone's disappointed with the result. We've gone away from home and we've lost 1-0, and we're not doing much in the final third of the pitch, are we? We were lacklustre in the final third. I mean, to have 75% possession of the football and create 2 or 3 half chances at best, maybe something like that, maybe 4 half chances, then that's difficult to take. But I think conceding the early penalty gave them something more to hold on to.
Yeah,
the teams are poles apart. At the moment, Preston have the points, Ipswich don't. But you think over the course of a season that we're going to be better and improve once we get the front line sorted out. I mean, I agree with what Ben said about up front. I mean, it's telling that Hurst has played 290 minutes. When was the last? I mean, that's unheard of for that to happen on one game, and not just Hurst, any starting striker. The fact that he's had to play a striker 2 games running for full 90 minutes tells me that obviously we're a striker short and we're in the 1, maybe 2. I mean, Ali will be gone. Ali will be gone if he's fit enough to be offloaded. I can't even think if he's not offloaded, he probably won't be in the 25-man squad. But that striker has got to be the key area, and maybe 2, maybe 1 or 2, and that was evident. I think we huffed and puffed a lot, and however much Hurst's link-up play has improved, you just don't feel he's that fox in the box when we're having a lot of pressure. Just doesn't feel like he's that one who's going to just dart in behind the centre back and toe poke one in.
I'd love to know. He's feeding on scraps, to be fair to him. I'd love to know what he's like in the box. We don't get the ball into the box enough at the moment, is what I argue.
Yeah, well, I mean, sometimes he was out wide. He pulls out wide, and he gets the ball out wide, and then he's giving it to someone else to cross in, and then it's like Smodic's running in. Well, I waited for the players yesterday, and Smodix isn't much taller than me, so you need more than that. And then you've got Philogene coming in off the other wing, who's not the tallest either. So we're not loading the box. And I think when you're looking at it now, you're looking, where are the goals going to come from? Yeah. Where are the goals going to come from? You'd hope that would be the wide people, but our 2 centre midfielders, Jack Taylor's a bit of a threat going forward. Had that chance at the end on his left foot. I think it was his at the end, but he's not getting a lot of space there. So Caduce, when he comes in permanently, he's not really a goal threat, is he? He doesn't score many either.
Well, he didn't do in the league above, did he? No, he got 1, didn't he?
So you're relying on the front 4 a bit more, but it did look like we got Taylor in the box a little bit more. So hopefully one of those will go in, into the box. I thought the penalty was quite soft. Yeah. From where I was, I didn't think, we're in trouble here. And when I spoke to Leif Davis after the game, and I said that looked a bit harsh, and he said Greaves said he never touched him. They had a tumble. Greaves fell to the floor, and it looked like the striker then run over Greaves. Greaves was stationary, so how he can foul him? So.
Yeah, but as I said this morning, Lee, on the members' live show where we did the team ratings, don't give the referee a question to answer in that situation.
No.
If you give a referee a question like that, you have to be prepared when the answer comes back, one you don't accept. And whether you think it was soft, touched him, didn't touch him, he's the wrong side, he's gone in with his feet, it's always going to be probably 9 times out of 10 given as a penalty for me, looking at it on first glance. And before I go back to Ben and come back on his upper management point, Joe says here, why buy Akpom if he's only ever seen as a 10? We already have 2 amazing champ 10s already. He came on yesterday. I couldn't quite work out where he was supposed to be sort of playing. I couldn't really work it out.
It's on the right, I think. It's
wide left, centrally. But what are your thoughts on Joe's comment there? Because you had about another striker. Obviously, Akpom's come in. We've already got 2 10s. What's the plan there, do you think, a little bit in terms of Akpom and the striker situation? Ben, be ready.
I said on the show that before that I thought he was coming in as number 9 because we hadn't signed another striker. But again, it's telling that he's not played there. So he must have felt that Hurst could do the 90 minutes. But he's coming on the left side. We bought him. He could play anywhere along the front line. Perhaps it was needs must. But we've got there's enough players there to move about. So he started on the left. He could well be on the right at some point. But now we've got McAteer on the right. So we've got McAteer, Ogbene, Burns. It was interesting that Ogbene didn't get on the pitch, and McAteer come on before him. So he's clearly not 100% fit. So he's probably then give us too much in the previous 2 games as well. But yeah, where Akpom looks all right, he looks tired. It was hard to really see where he fits in. I think he fits it. The point I'll make here is that all our front 4, apart from the striker, especially the wide left and wide right, they feed on counter-attack, quick football, down the channels and attack at pace. If we're going to play the slow build-up, they're not going to have that enough. So I think at times we've got to mix the game a little bit more, and we've got to, when we do win the ball back in midfield, we've got to use those players to the best of their ability, and that means attacking at pace when we win the ball back. And I think they'll come good. And you can see that's how Akpom looked to me. He's that type of player.
Okay. Paul says we're still very sorry, Lee. Paul said we are still very lightweight up front. Lack of physicality is an issue. We've got Dub Chief who thinks Matasiwa had that dealt with anyway. Sharon absolutely gov. Greaves didn't need to do it. We've got is this a period, Max? Is it just this period of uncertainty where any player does not know if they will be here next week, or do the players just not believe in what McKenna wants them to do? Dub Chief, the floodgates open once we get 1 or 2 goals, lacking confidence big time. Yeah, okay, Ben, I'll come back to you. You mentioned Ashton, you mentioned the owners. You're not alone. There's a few points floating around online or on our Discord in regards to this. I'll push back a little bit because I don't want my owners in the press every 5 minutes. As a football fan, I think owners are best in the boardroom, and when you don't see and don't hear from them, that's when times are good and times are bad. Particularly when they've got a team and they've put together this team, and they have done, Ashton and co, and we've had really good times. So that's what I would say on that front. And of course, they have given everything, it would appear from the outside, to make dreams come true. And, it's not like we're sitting here having come down, having not invested, or we've not spent £10 million on a central midfield player, etc., etc. So, everything is there in place to do what we need to do. In terms of Ashton, it's interesting, that one, because we're still a week away, 8 days, 9 days away from the window closing. I don't really want to see or hear from Ashton right now. I want Ashton doing one thing and one thing only, Ben, and that's working this telephone. Working it hard to the point where he needs a new one every other day, because he's on it so often that it's broken, it's overheated, he has to chuck it away. This phone needs to be, not this one here, obviously, his one, needs to be red hot. He needs to be working his contact books to the extreme, because we are short in some key areas. We are short in some quality. If he's got a favour or 2, he needs to call it in, because this is the time now where it's only 3 games. You mustn't panic. You mustn't change from the plan that you came into the season with, whatever that plan may be. But I don't want to see or hear from him right now. I want to see or hear from him in 8 days' time, when I can fully judge and assess just what their plan was in this window and how they've attacked it. What do you say back to that?
You're not wrong, but it has to work both ways. So I would say the same thing has to apply when you're on the up and when you're down. We hear all about it when we're on the up. We hear nothing when things are pushed against us. So maybe some reassurance. Maybe just we're doing everything.
3 games in though, Ben. Only 3 games in.
Yeah, I hear that. But do you know what? Since we're not going to romp the lead by 15 points this year, quite clearly those sort of 6-7 points we've missed out on could make the difference. This should be near an oven-ready team. When Burnley went down last year to the Championship, they had 17 new signings, and they lost 2 games all season and absolutely bossed it. Why are we not doing that? Although it's too early to tell, yes, but they started from the off, is what I'm trying to say. But I'm just looking at the acquisitions we're bringing in. Clearly, none of these are our first targets. Whatever our recruitment is, it's the door. Trust me. Although I could crack myself with the what's going on in my head at the moment. But I honestly think that, look at who we brought in. Those are not our A list. It seems to me.
Well, we don't know that, do we? That's something we can't say for definite. But what I would say is, I'm not here to defend anybody. I'm here to play devil's advocate. What I would say, Ben, is you've got a £10 million midfield player in Matasiwa. He's delivered over the course.
He wasn't our first choice target. No way.
Well, we don't know he was or he wasn't. I love Matasiwa, and I firmly believe he probably was our first choice. But you've got the Championship top goal scorer from a year ago, or 2 years ago now. You've got 2 wingers who combined scored near enough 30 goals for Sunderland and Hull. you've got an international centre half in Dara O'Shea. You've got Jacob Greaves, who many, when we signed him, saw this as a player that was on the up, a progressive player, a player that was going to go to the very top. In fact, the whole fan came on the show, and I believe said he'd one day play for England.
He's a strange one, Greaves.
If I am the management above the coaching staff, I got a fair point to say I've done what I should do, haven't I? The ingredients there are good to cook with.
We have an abundance of people in the same position in the 10s. We have no striker. We've just busted in a right-sided midfielder and winger for 12 million, who the Leicester fans couldn't stop laughing at us for, who couldn't break their team. I think we are absolutely, although I say Kayust is probably the best signing we've done all summer, and he's just got to get to fitness. Apart from that, we have no left back. So if Leif Davis gets injured, we have no one established and no one who's ready to jump in for 15 games if need be. We are short in key areas, and we are getting into the season now. And these games are going to come and come and come and come. So once the players come in, let's say we get 4 or 5 more players, and we put £50 million. It's another 5, 6, 7 games before they get to know the system. That's 10 games in. Everyone says you wait 10 games to judge a season by. So we get there by the standards of waiting this long. So that would be my counter argument. I think there is something seriously wrong with the recruitment. I personally think, because of the targets we seem to are missing out on. It might draw into the only positive I could actually say for yesterday. I wasn't at the game, Lee was, but the only positive, which is maybe it needed to be that bad, because it might just do the extra thing in the transfer market. We're going to need to bring in the first choice players we need to, and that may mean paying over the odds. We're a great club when we have no expectation, and it takes time to build, and then the rocket ship took off. We don't know what kind of a club we are when we've got £100 million to spend and we need to do it quickly. And it might go to the critique of Kieran McKenna. He's a wonderful coach when you have no expectations and you have time. But much like a Premier League manager, he now needs to perform very, very quickly with a lot of money. Premier League managers do this all the time. I wonder why. It's if the Premier League clubs saw it a bit before we did. I don't think McKenna does anything quickly. And that's not a criticism. That's who he is. He's a coach, and it takes time to coach. But we're now in a trajectory where we need things to happen like this.
Well, I get it. Yeah, no, you're right. We do have to live in a world where things have to happen like that. 8 days or how long it is to the window closing. I think we should, stick with it and then judge it when the window is closed. I can see you shaking your head. I can see you shaking your head there at various points, Lee. Before we move on to the game, to the game from yesterday and drill in a bit more detail on performances, you were shaking your head at points there to what Ben was saying. What are your thoughts sitting over there?
Well, you can't disagree with what Ben's saying, but you can add some points as to why it might be happening. Please. So for example, first choice players, what I would say to that is you might not get your first choice target, but you would have a list of players. Your first choice target is not going to be the best footballer in the world unless you're Real Madrid, Barcelona, Man City, mate, or whoever. So we live in a pool of players. The second point to all that, or the problem I think we have in the transfer market is that we have to buy players that we're after players that probably want to play in the Premier League, and we're trying to get them to play in the Championship. I think that's more difficult. Hackney is a prime example. So I think we are going up the market, and we can have all the money in the world, Ben, but if someone doesn't want to come, we agreed a fee with Hackney. Middlesbrough had agreed the fee. He was happy. I understand the reports are that he was happy with the dosh, but he just didn't feel at that time that he wanted to explore other avenues. There was a better offer from a Premiership club.
He wanted to wait and see, effectively, right? Or stay at Middlesbrough. One of those two.
Who says he doesn't turn up? I mean, that's all gone quiet. I mean, who knows where that turns up? So I think it's really difficult to attract the right player. And why should we? So if our ambition is to get into the Premier League next season, and we want to sign a player on a 3 or 4 year contract, that player, we've got to sign a player that we believe, or McKenna believes, the club believes, is going to be able to do it in the Premier League, because we've just fallen foul of that in the last 12 months. So the market is really difficult in that way. Burnley have done it, I grant that, but have they stayed up yet? Who knows? But I think we're in that market now where it makes it a lot more difficult. It really does. We could go into the Championship and probably buy 3/4 of the players in the Championship without any bother. But they're just not going to be good enough if we want to be in the Premier League. So you can see why he's bought McAteer. You can see why we bought him and why, what McKenna says yesterday. There's more to come from him. We think he's still developing. His best years are still ahead of him. We think we can make him better. That sort of thing. So they're the sort of players that you've got to get. He might not have been first choice, absolutely, but I just find it that it's going to be really, really difficult to get those players in. And what's the hardest player? What's the hardest player to sign? A striker. We haven't signed one. Yeah. So we're after strikers. Strikers like gold dust, good strikers. But we want a striker that's going to help us in the Premier League if we get there. We can't say, let's spend 3 years in the Championship before we go up, and then we'll buy someone else further down the line. I think that's the real problem. So if my head was shaking, it wasn't really to say Ben's wrong, but Ben is right. But there's the mitigation for me as to why the transfer window is really, really difficult. And it's got to be right for the club.
And my pushback on that would be 3 games. Still got time in the window. Big, deep breaths collectively needed. And as Aston's often said, this club's better when we all stick together and we take that big collective deep breath and we just see how it plays out. But I do take all of the points on board in the sense of you've known Delap was leaving in March. We're now sitting here in August, 3 games in, and we've scored 2 goals in 3. We've got 2 points from a possible 9. It isn't the greatest start in the world. It's frankly as bad as it probably could have gotten. And if it wasn't for a 95th minute penalty, we'd be on 1 point from 9. And but thankfully we had that penalty. So I do understand everything you're saying. That said, there were times in March. I remember some Town fans wanted George Hurst to start over Delap. So maybe George Hurst is the Delap replacement, and Akpom is now the replacement for Hurst in the sense of a player off the bench who can provide the cover, provide the reinforcements when we need it, etc. Only time will tell. And you can't really judge a plan until you've seen it all play out, until you've seen all the facets of time go past, and then you can sit down and we'll do that at the end of the window. But I fully take on board my big concern.
We don't have that luxury of time in the Championship, because when 10 games gets here, so it's okay. Well, we've got before Christmas, and then it gets to Christmas. Or we didn't start really flying till after Christmas in our previous 2 campaigns. Time waits for no one in this league. You have to be on it from minute one. But and my point is, all of these, what Lee said is exactly correct. So don't say the opposite in the upper management. We're going to be ready. The targets will be here. We've got the money to spend. The shortlist is there. We're going to have a full squad ready to go competing.
I don't think they've said that. I think they said that we were going to attack the market. We're going to attack the market. And I think, again, I don't think...
Birmingham have attacked the market. Wrexham have attacked the market.
Yeah, but we're very much different in the sense of we're fishing in a different pond for transfers there. And I take what you say on board, and many people at home will agree with you. Lee's agree with you in points. I've got to play that devil's advocate and push back and put the other side of it forward, because there's always 2 sides to every story. And Paul says the problem now is with 8 days of the window left, it's a seller's market. We're going to be paying through the nose for anyone we bring in. Don't forget, we do also want you to come on the show. There is a space right there for you. Look, just sitting there waiting for you to come on and have your say about anything you've heard, anything you feel, anything you want to say. It's your platform. It's for fans, by fans, to come on the show and have your say. Craig says Wrexham are below us. I say it's 3 games in. I want to talk about the fact that why can we not unlock something more cohesive from the players we've already got at the moment at the
Good
club?
question.
Because
Good question.
You've got Jack Clark, who universally we all celebrated up and down when he was signed. We've got Sammy Spodek, Championship top goal scorer when we signed him. He was still scoring goals when we signed him for Blackburn. You've got Jaden Philogene, who was really good for Hull. George Hurst, who we know can score goals.
Jack Sunderland.
Jack Clark, first player.
Jack Clark. Yeah,
you've got Benner, you brought in for 8 million. So what's going wrong? Because yesterday, Lee, you were there in the stands. You can tell me more. It didn't look cohesive. It didn't look like, if I said to you, these players have all done that in their career, you'd have said, you're having a laugh, aren't you?
I guess you would. I suppose it goes back to the point I made at the start of my 2 minutes, or however long it was in the end, is that we conceded that early goal, and it had that feel like when we were back in League One, when we would dominate teams and they would sit back and they would Preston didn't put 6 centre-backs across the 6-yard box, but there were games like that back. It reminded me of League One where we could have played for two games and still not scored, but and we were knocking it in, and there weren't enough there. We just couldn't get behind them enough, and that's the most frustrating point, because we've got these wingers that should be able to get behind players. The ball wasn't going quick enough across the midfield. The ball wasn't coming out. I've always said this. I said this last season. One of our big problems was bringing the ball out from the back. We're too ponderous. O'Shea and Wolfenden did it last year. He'll run 10 yards with the ball out towards the right back, and he'll just give it to Johnson. But he's run 10 yards, and he's allowed the cover. And you can see it from the stand. You can see the cover and player being able to get there in time. Mm-hmm. Just get the ball and pass it out there. Chaplin does it. Chaplin gets that one pass, one ball. If you're transferring the ball around the back,
the team.
Yeah. If you're transferring the ball around the back, you've got to do it at pace. There's no point sitting on it, seeing what's in front of you. Yeah. Get the ball wide, make them run. If it goes back to O'Shea, you've got nothing, but you're just running them ragged. We didn't run them ragged enough, and I think because they had I spoke to one of their fans after the game, after we'd seen the players and we're walking back, and he was chatting away. They still think we'll win the league. That's the target on our back.
We ain't winning it this year.
And he said, he said we were hanging on a bit there for a little while. I said, mate, you were hanging on after the penalty. The game was pretty even till the penalty, but we dominated possession without creating anything. And we've got fast players, those players that you said, look at all Smodic's goals. They're all on the counter-attack. Look at all the goals that these players are scoring. Most of them are on the counter-attack, not when a team is encamped on the top of their 18-yard box. And that's where you need the plan B. That's when you've got to be able to adjust to play a bit like Preston, where they'll flood the box. We've got to be able to play that role as well. So we've got to look at the game. We can't get in behind. We've got to put the crosses in, but we've got to have the players. We've got to have the numbers in the box. Otherwise, one or two in there, you're never gonna score. So that's what I think.
A lot of our live chat, Rob Holmes, there are no patterns of play. The passing is far too slow and sidewards. Another person's in Mike Dean, 0 patterns of play. There's another comment further up by one of our YouTube members. I can't quite find it. Something along the lines of a creative midfield player is the missing piece, and that's why you're not getting the best out of those attacking four. Ben, you've heard Lee's thoughts. You've heard the chat's thoughts. What are your thoughts?
That every single team we play this year is going to do what Preston done to us. That's how you stop us. The reason it's so slow is because they're going to bomb towards you and flood the space. What Preston done to us yesterday, by the way, was a brilliant defensive display, particularly in the last half of the second half. They were flying bodies in. They were putting their necks on the line. That's every team has worked this out because we only have one way of playing. Every single team this entire season is going to do that exact thing to us. So I do agree with Lee's point, but I'll put it further. We have to learn how to play against that. That's all we're going to play against the entire year. We had the plus of nobody quite knew what we were when we started flying in League One, and then we come up to the Championship. By the time people had figured out what we actually were doing, we were flying. You're on that wonderful momentum train and the Band of Brothers and all that. But every single team is going to think, right, we know exactly what formation McKenna's going to play next week. We know exactly what he's going to do at the back. We know exactly what he's going to do with his wingers. We know exactly what he's going to do with his midfielders and his tens. And he's going to be doing the same thing in April to what he's doing now. So teams are just going to set up to go against it. Preston, it was an ugly, dirty Championship, blood, guts and thunder kind of game. So is it Birmingham as well. That's every game this season. So we have to go ahead, and that's where. And it's a shame because look at Jack Clark, for example. Confidence is completely destroyed. But since no other players are fit, and the ones that are fit have a terrible injury record, we're busting in players who cannot play more than 10 minutes. Kayust, Akpom, all these. So you cannot build that momentum and gain that. How do you call it? That confidence. And that's when you don't have confidence and you're up against a brick wall. That's a really horrible combination in this league. A lot of teams get undone by that very often. And it's where we're at right now. I'm not saying it's where we're at in 15 games' time, but we have got to learn how to play against these formations up Preston quick, or we are going to find ourselves 20 points away from the top 6 by Christmas. And that's a very, very hard. I'll be really interested, I know it's you that usually calls this, Gov, and this is probably an unfair question to the listeners. In a yes or no reply in the comments box, based on what you've seen so far, 3 games, 4 if you include the miscarriage of justice.
We don't include the cup game.
Didn't happen. And the transfer business so far, do we go up automatically this year or not? Yes or
business so far? That's a great question.
Business so far and what you've seen, do we go up this year? It's very early. Okay. But everyone's going to be asking the same question, and if you're not, it's not football you're watching.
Let us know in the chat. Love it.
Yes or no?
I love it when the contributors put questions to the chat. That makes my life a little bit easier. And Lee, in terms of Chaplin, in terms of moving the ball quicker, this is something he does so well, and his range of passing is really something I feel we're missing at the moment as a squad, as a team. That ability to get on the ball, move it quickly, but move it with direction, move it with determination, but move it with quality and move it with precision. And I really do wonder how or why we can't have a team with Sammy Szmodics and Connor Chaplin at the moment, because it isn't like you're getting a lot of, and it's only been 3 games, but it isn't like after 3 games you're getting a lot of production from either wing. We saw Sammy Szmodics play an inside left position last year. I would be interested to see that against Derby. A Sammy Szmodics inside left, a Connor Chaplin central, because I think we need this team right now, with the lack of creativity in midfield or the lack of production coming from your midfield too. And that's not a slight on either player. I really love Matchday. I think Taddy's a good squad player, but I really do feel this team, Lee, is crying out for a Connor Chaplin to get on that ball and to really make us tick.
Yeah, he does link the play, doesn't he, really well. I mean, him and you had a good debate on the show last week about Szmodics and Chaplin. They are different players. Szmodics is more of a threat in behind. Chaplin's the one who links the play up a little bit better. But it feels like Hurst is trying to do that role. He's trying to get Szmodics to play off Hurst rather than the other way around, rather than give it to Chaplin. But there was a lot of space. Szmodics had a lot of space on Saturday. He was getting fed the ball a lot. And we were breaking, but it was just the 2 wingers, the wingers in behind. But yes, Szmodics can play that left-sided. Look, he scored against Man City with a move that was born for him, because he runs in behind. He's that threat in behind. So particularly away from home, I wonder why that's why you got the call. And both players were on the pitch at the same time. Don't forget, because going back to the substitutions, Chaplin came on, Szmodics moved to the left, and then Akpom come on. But Szmodics, don't forget, has a badly bruised arm. And I asked him, I said, how's your arm? He said, really sore. So again, I wonder if that was withdrawing him, and perhaps Akpom. So Hurst had to stay on, and Akpom went to that side because Szmodics was injured. But I think there is a place for Chaplin, particularly if you're thinking at home now. If we're now going to go home to Derby and we feel like we're going to have 60% of possession, Derby going to sit deep, then you need that you need that little spark, that little ball in behind or something from him.
100%.
And he's got that little cut on the left foot. He's got that little. He had a shot that got blocked on Saturday, but you can play Szmodics as well if you want that goal threat. But then you've got to say, right, if Szmodics is a goal threat, does he start because of that? Probably. He's likely to score in around the box, but so can Chaplin. But does he start Szmodics on the left and not play Clark? That's the question. Or Philogene. Who comes out the team on the left? I suppose everyone on the show is going to say, "Well, take Clark out because he's been rubbish." But
you could take either out right now, and I don't know if you would. You said you wouldn't miss much from a production standpoint at this moment in time, would you? If you took either one of them out, if you decided on the day, Jaden, Jack Clark, whichever one you decided.
That's why I'm saying our transfer business has been so bad. They can't come out of our team because we have no one to replace them. No. And is it interesting? We got Chaplin in League One, £200 million, and 3 years later, every single supporter wants Chaplin back on the pitch, a League One player. That's where our recruitment is right now. Because he
also
would have been one
to Chaplin, though, doesn't it? Also speaks to Chaplin.
You damn right. Why is he not in the team? How is he not in the team?
That's the question mark, isn't it, really? Okay, we've got some comments. We've got Collins going to join us very shortly. Don't forget, we are partnered with Match Bingo. Match Bingo combine the excitement of live sport with the thrill of bingo. Your card is 15 random events from a live football match, and you watch them get marked off as the game unfolds. It's a brand new way to enjoy your live football. You must Be 18 or over. Terms and conditions apply. Please, as I always say, gamble responsibly. Visit begambleaware.org for more information. Link is in our description, or you can scan the QR code on the screen next to the Match Bingo logo today, now, and it will take you to the App Store, and away you can go. It's been an interesting show, this. You both brought some very interesting points. In answer to your earlier question, Ben, we've got Angela with no, Richard with no, Adrian with no, Rob with no, can't be in the confidence, Simon with no, Neil with no. David says won't finish top 10. Now you're going to believe us says yes.
We'll finish top 10.
Finally, a bit of confidence from now you're going to believe us. Jem says no. We've got a no from Amini. Playoffs at best says Trevor. Mike says no. Not relegation, says James. James is literally lowering his benchmark right down. Not James, raise that benchmark back up. Come on, keep the standards high. Not automatically. We've got okay. Overwhelmingly, I think it's safe to say the answer is no from our live chat.
I'd say yes.
I would say yes as well. I'm with you.
Explain.
Go for it. Explain. Go.
Explain. I'm going to say yes at the moment because we've still got the players that we've got. We all know they're good players to a point. They're all good championship players. Yes, we're not gelling as a team. You look at Preston yesterday. Yes, they did beat us. But you look what happens when they get 2 or 3 injuries. You look what happens when it gets to Christmas, like we did in the Premier League, and you see that our bench and our squad will then come to the fore. But agree with Ben's point. We can't be 20 points away by Christmas. But I think we still push top 2. If we're not fighting top 2, I look at yesterday, how we dominate the play. We talked about why we couldn't score, but you wait till these teams with the squads, the smaller squads, and they're starting to play 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds in the teams because they've got injuries. I can see us then. Our bench will help, and I think it will come. And I think it will come good. We should have, we probably edged against Southampton as well. The only game we've really sort of been holding on was the first one, and not many teams are going to go to Birmingham and play football and dominate possession. So I think the signs are there. I think the base is there. I know we haven't kept a clean sheet in 30 odd games, whatever it is, but most of those are in the Premier League. I think the base is there. We went to Preston, really direct team. We dominated the possession. Once we get that bit sorted out up front and we stay injury free, always got to be injury free as best we can, we'll be pushing top 2.
Not injury free now. With 3 games in.
No, we're not. But if players come, when players come back, we had 2 good years. We had the 2 promotion years. We were blessed with lack of injuries, if that's the right way around of putting it. We didn't have many significant injuries, did we? We lost Hirsch for a bit, but we lost him right at Christmas, and we got somebody in, didn't we? So top 2, pushing top 2, definitely.
I agree with you. We are going to overrun, so I hope you're okay to stay with us. Ben, if you're not, do let me know, and I will, of course, allow you to have a lovely Sunday evening. But we're going to bring Colin in. Colin, you got 5 minutes, my friend. Tell me all about your football club. You've heard the boys. You've heard the chat. Right. You've obviously had conversation with other fans as well. How are you thinking? How are you feeling? What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, good evening, everybody. Good evening, I did come in a little bit late tonight. Not been feeling the best today, unfortunately. But no, I haven't been feeling the best, and I haven't been seeing many games. As you all know, Ian went yesterday. He gave me a 1-word text coming home. Appalling. Look, why am I supposed to disbelieve that? A, he's my son. B, I don't like to think he ever lies to me. And C, like all of us, he loves our football club. He gave me a 1-word answer yesterday. Appalling. Now, this is against a side that has had a decentish start to the season. But let's face it, come on. No great shakes. I do agree with Lee, not only because he's a good friend, but I do agree with Lee because we have got a good squad. We've got to we've got to grasp the nettle here, so to speak. You know, and try and think as positively as we can. I mean, I read stuff in the chat in a little while. I've been in the chat that Hackney wasn't even in the squad yesterday for Middlesbrough. Well, load of rubbish, because I watched the highlights last night and I saw a certain Hayden Hackney nearly score from 43 yards.
So he certainly was blind.
In an open goal up the Barkley end. So come on, look, if we're going to make comments, let's get the comments right for the first. But Lee is absolutely right about the fact that about the size of the squad, and you know, let's face it. I mean, probably 75% of the championship are a lot worse off than us squad-wise, if not more. And for that reason, I do really 100% agree with Lee. I think, and also Gov, because Gov was saying about more or less the same kind of thing about, you know, let's just start to chill out a little bit here. See whereabouts we are in about 6 or 7 weeks' time. After the next international break, after about 3 or 4 weeks after that, and see where we are then. But the one thing I must say that I've been really, 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 well, I don't know about riled about, more worried about, is you know, our recruitment. I mean, our recruitment has been absolutely. How many times Gov could count this on one hand, as you all could. How many times have I actually came on Taunton Town and sounded even a little bit negative? I think our recruitment's been bordering on awful up to this point. Up to this point, we've got 8 or 9 days left, and my goodness gracious me, we've got to sort this out.
You're right.
This next 8 or 9 days, in my opinion, will, not if, will, I think, determine our season.
Agreed. Yeah, no, completely agree. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. You were coming in and out of my headphones a little bit there, but I think everyone could hear you perfectly clear.
I heard perfectly. Yeah.
You were coming in and out. I think it was more connection my end. But I do think you're right there, Colin. I think the next 8 days will determine our season. Is that fair to say, Ben?
100%. The next week is, it sounds so strange to say in August, but it's make or break. It gets determined in the next, it's sort of 7 or 8 days. And if it ain't better than what it's been, we're fucked.
I think it certainly sets you up for a make or break. You know, you have to lay the groundwork to build the house that is the promotion house. And if the foundation in August is not great, don't expect a mansion come May. And that's me in the analogies now, Ben. Good heavens. It's normally you. We haven't had the car one yet. I'm sure it's coming. But Colin, I want you to do one thing and one thing only, and that's focus on getting back to Portman Road. Focus on getting well. We miss you, and we hope to see you all at Portman Road and in the terraces again. I don't mean to upset you, Colin. All right, I don't mean to upset you.
Please, no, don't just. No, I receive those words with grace and love. I've not felt very well.
We understand.
I've not come on here at all. I've come on here as an Ipswich Town supporter. I've not come on here to look for sympathy or anything like that. I'm not that kind of person. I come on here because I've always loved coming on here. I've always loved coming on with the people that are on here with, and you know, I just have gone through a really rough period, and I don't know whether I'll be there for Derby. I'd say 90-10 against. Whether I'll be there, I've had 3 away tickets this year: Birmingham, Bromley, and Preston. I've sent them all back, which is unheard of for Colin Plum.
Absolutely.
That's why we're playing so shit. The boys need you.
Yeah, absolutely. They're missing the Plum inspiration.
And another thing I'd just like to say, please, Gov, if I can.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, very quickly though, because time is
yeah.
short.
You got another thing I'd like to put to Ben and Lee. I know a lot of people won't like this. I've said it before. I think up to this point, Norwich have had a very, very good window.
You're fucking right.
But you've got to remember, Norwich have had a very good window in my mind. But they've only, but they're only 1 point ahead of us. And in my opinion, they've had a very good window. I think if we have a decent window between now and the end of the window, we shoot away from the Canaries.
I hope so. I think it's the only plus point is next week is Derby, not the Derby.
Agreed with that. Yeah, absolutely. Colin, look after yourself. A lot of love for you in the chat. All right, look after yourself. We appreciate you coming on.
Yeah,
all the best. All right. We're close to rounding up. Appreciate Colin coming on the show. I've got 2 questions from the Discord. I'm gonna give one to each of you. Mike D says a little bit upon the theme of one of the questions. He says the manager can still get the squad playing better though, Gov, which I do agree with. He absolutely can. But one of the questions is from Ben. I'll give it to you first, Ben. Ben. Who is still to leave the club in the window? Any wild cards for you to leave or go out on loan?
Yeah, Warfield go.
Yep.
Yeah, Warfield go.
The only one you see leaving?
Al Mahadi, please.
Okay.
Warfield go.
I would rather keep Al Hamidi until we get a striker in. I wouldn't want to, because last season, Ben, I was told all before the window closed, don't worry, the club will get a striker. They'll get a striker. We then did get a striker, and we carried George Hurst, Al Hamidi, and Delap, and obviously one of them got injured, and we were left really short. So until we've got that new striker in the building, Lee, I'd rather not sell out or even loan out Al Hamidi. Matt says this question in our Discord group, Lee. How many more games would it take for it to start getting very sour? Perhaps like that fateful Valentine's evening.
Very, very soon. That's
Bristol Rovers. Ben says very soon. What do you say, Lee?
Well, it won't happen.
It won't happen. Lee's just categorically saying it's not happening. I love that. We have got.
And what I mean by that, it's not that the fans won't get irate, because, you know, when you sit at home, you have the same people around you, and you get to understand what people are like around you, and probably a lot of people say the same about me because I'm a gobby little shitbag, all that sort of thing. But you do hear some stuff when you're away from home, and I don't go every week, but you do hear stuff, and I scratch my head with some of the comments and stuff that I hear. But it is all about opinions. I think knowing the club, there's still many miles in the bank for McKenna, but there is always going to be an element that disagrees, and that's quite right. That's I'm not saying that I'm right, but I think the majority are still behind McKenna, and those that are disgruntled are generally the ones that shout the loudest. Okay. That's always my feel, because they're disgruntled. So I think I don't think that'll happen. I think we'll win next week. And
then once you get one, you're off and running, and you'll look back and you'll laugh at this show, and you'll
there'll be a left field striker come in there'll be some striker that come in that everyone will be happy with, something like that. Another midfielder. Looks like another defender to replace Wolfie, and another left back. So probably still 4 or 5 to come in, and I think we'll then start to build. But the Championship's a tough season. Football isn't. We're not going to turn up and turn this over. We've got to knuckle down. Fans, just because we're spending 20 million on or 15 million on someone, doesn't mean they're that much better.
It is a tough
than everyone
division,
else.
but we're making it look a lot more tougher than I think perhaps it is. Amity says we should be able to get 3 points even with one shot on target the whole match, especially on away games. Also, the players we have on the team suits the counter attack and park the bus play style. Thank you for your comments. We have got an ITFC trivia night in our Discord this evening at 9 p.m. Come and join us. Not many questions, not particularly hard for the first ever ITFC trivia night. If you're not yet on the Discord and you remember, check your posts tab on YouTube, or if you want to become a member, hit join on YouTube. It is $4.99, and you've got all the T's and C's and everything you get for being a member there. And then you can obviously come across to the Discord as a thank you for being a member or an active membership. And we are partnered with Stowmarket Osteopaths, delivering quality osteopathy and physiotherapy services in Suffolk since 1985. If you want professional, experienced care, give them a call on 01449613633 and tell them Talking Town has sent you. When I say give them a call, of course, I truly mean Freddie, who's the governor there. Tell him the gov at Talking Town has sent you, and hopefully he can look after you. We've got a lot of comments for Lee, for Colin, but for now we are done. Lee, rather Ben, I still haven't worked this out yet. This left and this right situation. Ben, thank you very much. It's been truly a pleasure. Sorry, we're 10 minutes over, but we did start 5 minutes late. Lee, thank you from your Airbnb. We appreciate you joining us.
Airbnb Lee.
Airbnb Lee. There you go.
Airbnb, how about that, eh?
I know, it's great, isn't it? Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you Wednesday for a match preview. Unless, of course, we sign somebody, then we'll go live to discuss the latest and newest edition to Ipswich Town FC. Thanks for watching. Take care. God bless. All the best. Bye-bye.